President Barack Obama addressing the nation, of course, from Washington, D.C. at 6:37. American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon, killing 184 people. 9/11, of course, had a profound effect on the federal government. U.S. foreign policy shifted abruptly on that day. Changes in domestic policies were dramatic. Joining us right now by phone this morning, San Diego Representative Brian Bilbray. Sir, good morning. Thank you for taking the time.
Good morning. Honor to be here.
You were a congressman before 9/11. You were a congressman after, obviously. How have things changed from then?
Well, I'll tell you, I was actually in the Immigration Commissioner's office 2 blocks from the White House when the first plane hit, and was actually there when we all realized it was not an accident, and that's that the second jet hit the second tower. That transformed this country. That moment that we realized this was not an accident, but deliberate assault against the American people, I think really did shake us and wake us up to the fact that there's a lot of people that mean us harm. One of the great things it did is it really reminded us all we're a family. As a nation, we may disagree, may fight and argue come election time and over politics, but when it comes down to it, the world judges us as a family, and we exist in that form. The big changes that we're seeing around the Capitol, you don't see police officers with sidearms anymore. They're carrying shotguns and M16s. We're seeing roads blocked off. Getting into the Capitol is really tough. And I'll say one thing, though. We talk about what happened at the Pentagon. We talk about what happened in New York, but we forget about the heroes that ended up in that field in Pennsylvania. And every time I show somebody the Capitol of the United States, I'll remind them not to thank me for seeing the Capitol, but to thank those heroes who died in that field, because that plane was aimed for the United States Capitol. And if they hadn't been brave enough to, in the words, those final words, "Let's roll," we wouldn't have that monument to American representative government still on this hill. It would have been in a cinders like other places. But it's transformed us. Sadly, this week I've seen movements of forgetting about those things. And, you know, as we watch what's going on at the Pentagon, we've got to remember that, you know, the terrorists were able to get onto an airplane because Virginia gave them driver's licenses, even though they were illegally in the country, and they didn't have to show their Saudi Arabian passports.
And Congressman, as you're speaking, we're looking at live pictures of the president, obviously, there at the Pentagon, and he just spoke moments ago. I think you may have heard it, and he basically said that the work to protect America is far from over. We will still do all in our power to keep America safe. And really, he said the pursuit of al-Qaeda is ongoing. The plot against us is still ongoing. Where do we stand as far as that's concerned? We're still at war with al-Qaeda. Osama, as far as we know, is still out there. What's in store for the future here?
Well, first of all, we've got to say, you know, thank God and thank you for the federal family that have protected us since that. I mean, who would have thought 8 years ago that we could go through 8 years without a major attack? We've had 5 major conspiracies, but I think that we've got al-Qaeda on the run. They've been broken up. The problem is they've been broken up so much that now you have these little splinter groups that are a product of the fact that we've shattered them so hard. But we still have major dangers out there. We can't retreat from concepts of internal enforcement, making sure that we're secure not only in our borders but in our neighborhoods and around the world. I think the fact is we've come a long way, but the worst thing right now is to think that the game is over and that we can now lower our guard. There are people that mean us harm, will continue to mean us harm, and if we don't continue to do the right things, I think all of us should go back, especially policymakers, and reread the 9/11 Commission, because a lot of what's being proposed this week is to retreat from the 9/11 Commissions. They got senators who have just voted to not require a valid ID to get on an airplane. You know, after 9/11, who would ever thought we'd live to see the day that an elected official in this country would say that viable identification for getting on airplanes is not important?
The fight is far from over, obviously. Representative Brian Bilbray, 50th Congressional District, thank you for taking the time this morning.
Well, thank you very much, and God bless everybody. And let's just remember the heroes that really have stepped forward and to protect this country, not only here in the United States, but overseas, and God bless you.
Yes, indeed. All right, sir, thank you.